Welcome to Lost Relation Chronicles. I never expected my world to crash down this afternoon. It started with a simple text from my son, Russell. "Dad, I need to talk to you alone. It's important today," that was it. No emojis, no punctuation, except the period. At the end, Russell wasn't the type to exaggerate. If he said it was important, it meant something was seriously wrong. I immediately called him, but he didn't answer a moment later. He texted again. "Not over the phone. I'm on my way home. 2 hours. 2 hours." I stared at my screen. Heart pounding, every possible scenario rushed through my head. Accidents, arrests, illness, trouble with a girl, trouble at school. I couldn't focus. I tried going back to the spreadsheet I'd been working on, but the words might as well have been in Mandarin by the time I heard the crunch of tires on the gravel driveway. I was a wreck. My stomach was in knots, hands trembling. I stood up as the front door opened. Russell walked in slowly, like gravity had tripled for him. His hair was a mess. His skin looked pale, lips pressed into a grim line, and his eyes were bloodshot like he hadn't slept in days. I felt a chill crawl up my spine. "Russ?" I asked, stepping toward him. "What's going on?" He didn't answer right away. Instead, he reached into the pocket of his hoodie and pulled out his phone. He walked over to the kitchen island and slid it across the granite surface toward me. "Just look at this," he said hilariously. I glanced at him, then down at the phone. The screen was already unlocked, showing a messaging app. The name at the top read, Coach Robinson. Below that, lines and lines of messages. At first I didn't understand, then I started. "Reading last night was incredible. I can still taste. You can't stop thinking about that shower at the hotel. When can we do it again? Evelyn, I dreamed about you again last night. My wife was next to me, but all I could picture was you. I'll book the room again for Friday, same place, same time. You still have that red dress. You look so damn sexy in it." I stopped breathing. "What is this?" I whispered. Russell leaned against the counter, arms crossed tightly over his chest. I didn't want to believe it either, Dad. I scrolled more. There were photos, thankfully, nothing nude, but suggestive a hotel room selfie. Evelyn's smile unmistakable, her hair done up the way she used to, for our anniversary. But not for me. I couldn't speak. My mouth opened and closed. My hands were numb. She left her iPad at my place when she visited last week. Russell finally said she asked me to charge it while we went to lunch later that night. Caleb, my roommate, wanted to watch a movie on it while he was using it. These notifications kept popping up. I looked at him, my voice raw. "Notifications like these?" He nodded. The previews were, well, Caleb showed me. I didn't want to open it, I swear I didn't, but it was all right there, Dad. How long? Russell's jaw clenched. Months at least, since the spring, maybe longer. I sat down hard in one of the kitchen chairs. The room tilted for a second. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. But it didn't help. I felt like the floor had opened beneath me, and I was falling into some cruel, alternate reality. Evelyn? My Evelyn, the woman I'd been married to for 21 years. The woman I had built a life with, who I thought I knew. I blinked at the screen again. Coach Robinson. The name suddenly hit me like a freight train. Russell had taken screenshots, dozens of them, carefully cataloged, sorted by date like some horrible digital scrapbook of betrayal. He did it because he knew I deserved to know, and he was right, I did. 23 years, 2 kids, a mortgage, years of planning, dreaming, surviving hard times, and celebrating the good ones, and all those weekends on the sidelines watching Russell and Charlotte run across grassy fields, Evelyn beside me in a lawn chair, cheering, laughing, passing out orange slices. God, how many games did we watch with him on the field, with Coach Robinson pacing the sidelines, clapping, shouting plays. The man shook. My hand sat at my kitchen table during parent meetings, ate the chili Evelyn made, and all this time, Russell was quiet next to me as I stared at the screen again. His voice came soft. "I haven't told Charlotte yet. I figured you should know first." I nodded slowly. "Thank you, son. You did the right thing?" His eyes welled a little, but he blinked it away. I didn't want to believe it either. "Dad?" I didn't even want to open the messages, but after what Caleb showed me, "It's okay," I said, cutting him off gently. "You don't have to explain." We sat there for a long moment, the kind of silence that weighs heavy between people. My head throbbed. My heart, I didn't even know where it was. My hands were still shaking. Russell finally asked, "What are you going to do?" I looked at him, and I swear for a second, I felt like the child and he was the grown-up. His face was drawn mature beyond his years. This boy of mine had become a man while I wasn't looking. "I don't know," I said. "Honestly, I really don't. 23 years is a lot of history, a lot of holidays, a lot of shared inside jokes and lazy. Sunday mornings, it's 1,000 tiny threads connecting your life to someone else's, and then you find out the knots you thought were secure have already come undone." But even as I said, I didn't know something inside me. Something had died today, and it wasn't just my trust. It was the foundation. Russell cleared his throat. "You want to stay at my place tonight, you can crash on the couch. Or take my bed. I'll tell Mom we had some project or something that hit me square in the chest. My son was protecting me now." "Yeah," I said quietly. "Yeah, that's probably a good idea." The drive to his apartment was quiet. Trees rushed past in the early evening light, blurred by motion and the ache behind my eyes. The more I thought, the more the puzzle pieces came together. Things that hadn't made sense over the past year suddenly snapped into sharp focus. It started when Evelyn said she was going to start volunteering again. She told me she missed the community, said now that both Russell and Charlotte were in college, the house felt too quiet. She needed a reason to get out to feel useful. And of course, it made sense. Evelyn had been the quintessential soccer mom. Everyone loved her. She was the one organizing pasta dinners, making team banners, yelling the loudest from the bleachers. I remember her voice going hoarse after tournament weekends. So when she said she was going to help out with the college league, I was proud. She said she wanted to give back. Said it made her feel connected to the kids, even though ours weren't little anymore. I told her it was a great idea. I supported her, drove her to a few meetings, picked her up late when they ran long. Then came the changes. At first they were subtle. A new top here, a fresh hairstyle. She said she was just updating her look, said she wanted to feel like herself again. Then she joined a gym, hired a personal trainer. Suddenly, it was smoothies and meal preps and jogging at 6 a.m. She lost 15 lbs in 2 months. Wow, I told her one morning, watching her zip-up jeans that had been tight last fall. "You look great." She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "It feels good to take care of myself again." She said I meant it when I said I was proud of her. I thought maybe we were getting our groove back. Maybe this was her way of re-energizing, and maybe we could reconnect too. But the thing I couldn't ignore, the one change that didn't sit right, was her phone. She was always on that thing. Then came the so-called association meetings that ran late. At first it made sense. Soccer season was picking up, and she said the college league needed volunteers more than ever. Evelyn had always been a natural leader, organized, dependable, well-liked by parents and kids alike. No one batted an eye when she became the de facto coordinator for the league's events. "They need me to stay late again tonight," she'd say, grabbing her bag and checking her phone. "We're planning next month's fundraising dinner. That's the 3rd meeting this week," I'd say, half joking. "I know," she'd reply, flashing a tired smile. "They're useless without me." I laughed, I believed her. Then it became girls' nights. The old soccer moms are getting together. "You remember Candace and Tina, right?" she'd ask, applying mascara in the mirror, a new sparkle in her eye. "Yeah," I'd nod, glancing up from the newspaper. Tell them I said hi, but something began to shift. "Take some pictures," I'd call out as she left. "I want to see all of you together again." She smiled too quickly. If I remember, she never remembered. Then came the weekend workshops. "Oh, they're holding a 2-day coaching seminar in Charlottesville," she said one Friday morning, tossing clothes into a duffel. I'm driving down with some of the volunteers wanting to come. I offered make a weekend of it. She paused just for a moment, then shook her head with a soft laugh. You'd be bored out of your mind. Doug, it's all drills and theory. Yeah, but I could sneak away in golf while you're in sessions. We could grab dinner together. She was already turning away. It's really just for coaches and managers. You'd hate it. So I stayed home. I always stayed home. Why wouldn't I trust her? We had history depth, laughter, war wounds, and victories. We had Russell, who always left his cereal bowls in the sink, and Charlotte, who once had a C+ test in her violin case because she couldn't bear to disappoint us. We had late nights binge-watching crime shows, and Sundays reading side by side. We had made it through the layoffs the time I slipped a disc and could barely walk, the cancer that took her mom after 2 brutal years. Couples who endure that stuff, they don't fall apart, they lean in, they grow stronger. That's what I thought. That's what I needed to believe. But even as I convinced myself, the signs were mounting. The distance between us had become wider. Conversations shrank to logistics. Dinner plans, car appointments, tuition. Deadlines no more. Late night talks, no hand on my back as I drifted off to sleep. The bed felt cold more often than not. I tried. God knows I tried. I suggested we take a weekend trip, just the 2 of us. She said she was too busy. I cooked more often. Hoping to recreate her favorites, she picked at her food, or ate quickly and left the table once I bought a bottle of wine and her favorite dark chocolate, thinking we could just connect. She smiled weakly. I'm exhausted, Doug. Maybe another night. Another night never came. Sex became rare, then mechanical, then nothing at all. I brought it up one evening. Gently, are we okay? She looked away. It's just a phase. Once the kids are settled, things will settle too. I wanted to believe her. I did believe her because the alternative hurt too much. I remembered last fall Russell's first semester at college when we bumped into Coach Robinson at that open house. Doug, he said, reaching out for a firm handshake. Long time, Coach Robinson? I replied, didn't expect to see you here. He grinned. You kidding? Your wife's been a godsend to the program. We'd be lost without her. Evelyn laughed and touched his arm lightly. He's exaggerating. I smiled, feeling oddly proud. They chatted about scheduling travel games, volunteer coordination. I stood there, an extra wheel on a 2-seater, looking back. Now, God, how could I have missed it? The words that made me proud, then now curdled in my gut. God sent, lost without her. Was he already sleeping with her by then? And the trips, those tournaments, where I was never invited. Don't bother coming. You'll be bored. The lingerie I stumbled on in her drawer tag, still on black lace and silk. Not my taste, never worn for me. The password on her phone that she never used to have the screen, always face. Down the sudden clipped conversations that ended when I walked into the room. All of it was there, the signs blazing neon in hindsight, but I hadn't seen them. No, that's not true. I did see them, I just didn't want to see. It was easier to believe the lies than confront the truth. That was the hard part. Accepting that everything I thought we had might have just been a convenient illusion, a pretty sturdy lie we both lived in, because it was easier than tearing it all down. As Russell and I pulled up to his apartment, my phone buzzed a text from Evelyn. Hey, where are you? Everything okay? Just that, so casual, so normal. I stared at those words for a while. Felt like looking at something written in a foreign language, familiar shapes, but I couldn't feel them anymore. The words didn't land like they used to. They just floated empty. Russell glanced at me, eyebrows low. You don't have to answer, Dad. Not now. But I did. Or at least, I felt like I did. Like keeping the mask on for a little longer gave me control over something, anything. I'm just going to say, I'm helping you with something. I muttered, typing slowly. A few seconds later, she replied, okay, love you. 3 words I'd heard 1,000 times in the soft twilight of our shared life. 3 words that once filled my chest with comfort. Now they felt like another pin driven into the heart of it all. Another layer of the lie Russell saw it in. My face, I didn't have to say a word. He just nodded slightly and I felt a wave of guilt. "No son should have to be part of this," I said quietly. Russell shook his head. "I'm not a kid anymore, Dad. I can handle it." I looked at him, then really looked at him, strong jaw, tired eyes, his mom's hair. How had he grown up so fast, and how had I not seen any of this? "Yeah?" I said, voice thick. "Maybe you can, but you shouldn't have." To the rest of the evening passed in fragments. We watched part of a game, I think. I ate something, but I don't remember what I laid on the couch staring at the ceiling fan, turning slowly like time itself had slowed down to drag this out. My thoughts didn't stop. They circled like vultures, pecking at every good memory I'd once treasured. The Christmas Eve. She made that terrible cocoa, but insisted we all drink it because it was organic. The late-night hospital runs when Charlotte had bronchitis. That one rainy anniversary when we slow danced in the living room after the kids went to bed. All of it tainted. Now doubt bled into every scene, like ink spilled across a letter. By morning, I knew there was no more pretending, no more hoping it was something else, no more lying to myself. I had to confront her. Russell offered to come. I appreciated that more than he knew, but I shook my head. "This is between your mother and me." He gave me this long look, part son, part man, part shield, and just nodded. The drive home felt like something out of a dream or a movie. Everything looked the same. The streets, the trees, the neighbors walking their dogs, but it all felt hollow, like I was floating through a set built to resemble my life. I turned onto our street and saw her car in the driveway. Same spot, same angle like always, but nothing was like always anymore. Her gardening glove sat on the bench near the porch, caked with yesterday's soil. A little thing, but it felt like seeing a ghost so normal, so painfully ordinary. I stood there for a moment, my hand hovering over the doorknob, and then I walked in. She was in the kitchen, humming, as if the world hadn't cracked open, slicing tomatoes with this effortless grace. Her back half turned to me. She looked up with a smile. "Hey, how's Russell? Everything okay?" Her voice bright, warm, like we were still living in that lie. I didn't answer. I walked over to the counter, placed my phone down screen, facing up the screenshots, opened the messages, the pictures. I didn't say a word. Her eyes dropped to the screen and everything shifted. Her brow furrowed. "What's this?" she asked, but her voice already trembled. I watched it happen in real time, the confusion melting into realization. Then the panic eyes darting, breathing faster. She opened her mouth like she might start explaining. "I can explain," she said, but nothing followed. Her lips stayed parted, no sound coming out, and then she went still, face-drained eyes. Glassy, her expression went flat like someone had pulled a curtain shut inside her. This stone-faced look, I didn't raise my voice. I thought I would. I'd imagined shouting, breaking something, demanding answers. But when the moment came, the anger settled into something heavier, colder, like a storm that had passed but left everything soaked. I stood, across from her, arms folded, feeling like the floor was a mile beneath my feet. "How long?" I asked. She didn't answer right away. Her eyes darted to the window, then the floor, then back to the phone. "Evelyn," I said more firmly, "how long has it been going on?" Her shoulders sagged. 11 months, she said quietly, almost a year. I closed my eyes. 11 months, almost a year, of sleeping next to me with this secret in her chest, of smiling over dinner, texting him under the table, of making up stories and letting me believe them, of kissing me goodbye, and then what, meeting him in some hotel parking lot. My stomach turned a year. I echoed a full year of lies. She opened her mouth, but I held up my hand. "Don't say you didn't mean for it to happen, don't." She bit her lip, looked away, and whispered anyway. "I don't know. It just happened." The words lit something inside me. I slammed my hand down on the counter. Not hard enough to break anything, but loud enough to snap the moment in two. "No," I said through gritted teeth. "No. Evelyn affairs don't just happen. They don't fall out of the sky and land in your lap." She flinched their choices. I continued every text, every excuse, every weekend. "You said you were helping with the team, or visiting your sister. All of it. That was you choosing. I didn't want to hurt you." She choked out, tears welling. "But you did." I said, my voice flat now. "You chose him over and over again. Don't stand there and tell me you didn't mean to hurt me. What did you think would happen? If I found out?" She looked lost. "I don't know." "You didn't know?" I asked. Stepping forward, "Did you think I'd be happy about it? Grateful that you found someone to fill the void you never told me existed?" Silence. The kitchen clock ticked somewhere outside. A dog barked. I took a breath I didn't know I needed and asked the question that had been sitting in my throat like a stone. "Do you love him?" Her lips parted. She blinked at me, but the silence, it was too long. The answer was there, hiding in that pause. She hesitated, then finally said, I don't know what I feel anymore." I nodded slowly, jaw tight. "Well," I said, "that makes two of us." I looked around the kitchen, our kitchen, the tile. She picked out the crooked photo collage of the kids on the wall, the Dogard cookbook we never opened anymore. It didn't feel like home. It felt like a museum of a life that used to be real. "I told Russell," I said. She jerked her head up. "You what?" I told him. "And Caleb knows too." Her hand shot to her mouth, eyes wide, with horror. "No," she gasped. "Doug. No, oh my God. I never wanted. I didn't mean for them to. You didn't mean for them to find out." I cut in. "Well, guess what they did. I didn't even try to soften it. Your iPad," I added. "Caleb was using it. Your messages popped up. Russell saw them." Fresh tears spilled. She shook her head. Like if she just denied it hard enough, the universe might undo itself. "I never wanted this," she whispered. "I didn't want any of this to happen." I let out a bitter laugh. "But it did happen. Evelyn, you made it happen." She didn't deny it. She couldn't. She just stood there, arms wrapped around herself like she was trying to hold in everything that was falling apart. Then came the question I'd heard twice now in 24 hours. "What are you going to do?" she asked. I looked at her. This woman I'd shared 20 years with, and realized I didn't recognize her anymore. "I don't know," I admitted, "but I can't stay here tonight." "Where will you go?" she asked, her voice cracking. I met her eyes. "Not your concern anymore." That surprised her. Her face crumpled. She looked stunned, like she hadn't expected me to pull back that far, like I was still supposed to give her the comfort she'd stripped from me. I turned and headed for the bedroom, pulled out an overnight bag, packed a change of clothes, my razor, toothbrush, deodorant, socks. It was surreal, like packing for a business trip. Except my life was burning down around me when I came back through the kitchen bag. In hand, she was sitting at the table crying silently, shoulders shaking, face buried in her hands, just crying. Once those tears would have shattered me, would have made me reach for her, hold her, tell her we'd figure it out somehow. But not anymore. Now they only confirmed what I already knew. There was a gulf between us, wide, cold, and impossible to cross. As I opened the front door, bag slung over my shoulder, I paused. "We need to tell Charlotte," I said quietly, still not looking back. There was a long silence behind me. I could hear her trying to collect herself. "You're right," she said at last, voice small. "She deserves to hear it from us. Not the way Russell did." I gave a small nod. "We'll call her tomorrow, set up lunch or something." "Okay." Still, she couldn't look at me. I stepped outside and pulled the door shut behind me. It was just wood and hinges a door, but it felt like the closing of a chapter one didn't even know was ending until it already had. I wasn't just leaving the house. I was leaving 23 years of what I thought was a happy marriage. That thought hit like a freight train. I made it to the car before my knees nearly gave out. The streets were quiet. The radio was off. The silence was crushing. I couldn't bring myself to go back to Russell's place. I didn't want to be that guy, the broken man on the couch. So I drove aimlessly for a while until I saw the glowing vacancy sign at a mid-range hotel just off the highway. The receptionist gave me that sympathetic smile people give when they suspect you're going through something, but no better than to ask. The room was clean, generic beige walls, stiff sheets, the scent of lemons cleaner that barely masked whatever had lingered before me. I lay on the bed and stared at the ceiling like it might offer me some kind of answer, but it didn't. All I could think about was how everything I'd planned for. The rest of my life included her retirement trips, lazy Sundays, matching coffee mugs in the morning, our grandchildren maybe old-age rocking chairs, inside jokes, and warm glances across crowded rooms. Now I had to imagine a future that didn't have her in it at all. I didn't know how to start. I extended my stay the next day, and the day after that, I told myself I'd leave after the weekend, then pushed it again. Home didn't feel like home anymore. Just a place where the walls had heard too many lies. I met with a lawyer that Thursday. She was matter-of-fact, kind, but clinical. Explained the process with the kind of practiced tone that comes from watching marriages fall apart day after day. We'll talk division of assets. You'll each make disclosures. The house retirement accounts, those will be central since your children are adults. We won't need to address custody, but we can look at support if needed. Support God? I didn't respond much during that meeting. Just nodded, signed where I had to, took the business card. She slid across the table and walked out into the dull afternoon light, feeling like the world had tilted sideways. Evelyn texted every day, "I'm so sorry. Please, Doug, talk to me. It's over with him. I swear, please don't give up on us." I responded only to the things that needed answers. The gas bill, a check that had come in the mail, nothing personal. I couldn't go there. Not yet. Maybe not ever. The wound was too fresh, too deep. Touching it only made it bleed again. Russell checked. In daily, my boy's still looking out for me, even while managing his own life. "You should come stay here," he said on the phone one evening. "That hotel can't be good for your sanity." "I'm all right," I told him. "Really, you sure?" "Yeah, you've got enough going on without your old man crashing on your couch." "Still, I'm here, Dad." "Okay, I know." 3 days after I found out, we told Charlotte we agreed to meet her for lunch at her favorite cafe, one of those trendy little spots with hanging plants and too many lattes on the menu. She picked the table by the window, all smiles as we approached. "Hey," she chirped, standing to hug me. Then her mother. "You guys." "Okay." "You look tired." I forced a smile. "Been a long week, kiddo. Work stuff?" she asked, sitting back down. I looked at Evelyn. She looked at her lap. "No," I said softly, folding my hands on the table. "Not work stuff." Charlotte tilted her head. "Sweetheart," Evelyn said, her voice cracking. "Already we need to tell you something." Charlotte stared at us in stunned silence. I'd braced for tears, maybe questions, but not this kind of frozen, wide-eyed stillness. "Wait, what are you saying?" she finally asked, eyes darting between me and her mother. Evelyn opened her mouth, but I spoke first. "Your mother and I are getting a divorce." Charlotte blinked slow, like it hadn't registered why Evelyn's voice was barely above a whisper. I made a mistake." Charlotte turned sharply to her. "What kind of mistake?" "Charlotte," I began, trying to soften the blow, but Evelyn cut in. "I had an affair." The words dropped like a stone. Charlotte's chair screeched back as she stood abruptly. "With who?" Silence. Her mother stared down at the napkin she was twisting in her lap. Avoiding her gaze, Charlotte's voice cracked. "Who?" I gently placed a hand on her arm. "Sweetheart, that's not important right now." "The hell it's not," she snapped, jerking away. Her eyes welled up, angry and betrayed, all at once. "You're the last people I ever expected this from." Evelyn finally looked up. "I didn't mean to." "Don't?" Charlotte said, voice trembling. "Just don't. You always taught me that love was about trust, about being there for someone." "What happened to that mom?" Evelyn didn't answer. She just sat there, hollowed out. Charlotte grabbed her purse. "I can't do this, Charlotte," I said, standing. "We know this is hard. We're still trying to process it too." She hesitated just a second, but the tears won out. She turned and walked out without looking, back pushing through the cafe doors and disappearing into the bright afternoon. Evelyn sat frozen lips, trembling. "She won't talk to me," she said that night over the phone, voice raw with sobs. "She's not answering my texts, my calls, nothing." I listened in silence. A part of me felt sorry for her, grieving the relationship she'd damaged, the daughter who now saw her in a different light, but it was like watching a car wreck from across the street. You feel something, sure, but you don't. Step into the wreckage, not anymore. That part of me that once moved instinctively to comfort her. It was gone, or maybe buried too deep to find. Again the following week I signed a 1-year lease on a 1-bedroom apartment across town. The leasing agent was chipper, maybe a little too much. "This is our standard model," she said. "Want to see something bigger?" "A 2-bedroom, maybe." I shook my head. "No need. It's just me now." She paused, then smiled quieter this time. "All right, we'll get the paperwork." Started moving day was surreal. I packed most of my things during short, quiet visits to the house, avoiding the evenings, keeping it mechanical. A mug here, a few books, some clothes. It wasn't until I stood in the living room staring at a box labeled "Office" that it hit me: 23 years. All of it, now reduced to cardboard and duct tape. What was mine? What was hers? What have been ours? I never used to think in those terms. It had all just been life shared. Now I had to sort it, split it, make it divisible. Evelyn helped quietly, no drama. She handed me things she knew I'd want without asking. A photo of Charlotte at age 5, my father's watch. The coffee mug Charlotte had made in 3rd grade, lumpy and painted blue with the word "Dad" scratched into the side. Her eyes were red, but she didn't cry. Not this time. Maybe she was out of tears, or maybe she was starting to accept the truth. I had already come to terms with it. Was over. Some friends found out in the following days. There were the usual rounds of texts and awkward phone calls. Some took sides, gently, others stayed neutral. A few checked in, more often invited me out, made sure I was eating. I appreciated it, but most of the time I declined. I needed the quiet, the solitude. I needed to rebuild something inside myself, something that wasn't just her husband. The nights were the worst. The apartment sounded different. The heating pipes knocked like someone knocking from inside the walls. Footsteps from the neighbor upstairs reminded me I wasn't alone. Even when I felt like I'd lie awake and think of her. Was she sleeping? Was she crying? Did she miss me? Did she regret it? But then I'd remind myself, it doesn't matter now. 6 weeks after I moved out, I got a call from my lawyer. "The papers are ready." She said, "We can schedule a time to go over everything and sign." Her office was cold, impersonal, the kind of place where lives unravel one document at a time. She laid it all out. "No-fault divorce," she explained. "You'll each retain your retirement accounts, no alimony since both incomes were comparable. You'll split the proceeds from the house once it sells." I nodded, sign where she pointed. Watch the pen etch away. "The last of our shared life. It will be final in 90 days, she said. I signed my name, where the sticky flags told me to line after line. Initials here, full signature. There it felt mechanical, but each pinstroke carved a deeper line between the past and what was next. 23 years of marriage reduced to paperwork, legal formalities, marking the end of something that once felt unbreakable. Evelyn sat beside me, silent but trembling. When it was her turn, she reached for the pen, like it weighed 100 lelapiu. Her hand shook slightly as she signed the first page. She didn't speak until we were done. Her eyes, red and glassy, met mine. Would you come? Have coffee with me?" I hesitated, not out of anger, just uncertainty. What was left to say? But something in her voice, raw and human, made me nod. "Yeah, okay." We walked to a little place 2 blocks from the lawyer's office, the same one we used to stop at after school. Conferences or Saturday errands. The place hadn't changed. Same. Booths, same chalkboard menu, but we weren't the same. We sat across from each other, the silence thick as the coffee. She stirred absent-mindedly. "I'm sorry," she said, finally, eyes still fixed on her spoon. "I know that doesn't fix anything. I want you to know it wasn't because of you. I didn't say anything, just waited." She looked up. "It was something broken in me, Doug. Something I didn't even realize was there. I kept trying to fill it with routines, with being a mom, with being your wife. And then, I don't know, I got tired of pretending I was fine. I washed her, face searching for truth, or maybe just sincerity. I found both. Was there a moment I asked, 'When you realized what it would cost?'" She nodded slowly. "Yes, but by then I'd already lied to myself so many times that it felt like there was no turning back." I nodded too. Not an agreement, just an understanding, a silent acknowledgement of the strange places we can drift to, even while holding someone's hand when she finished. I looked down at my coffee cold. "Now, I forgive you," I said. Her eyes widened. She opened her mouth, maybe to thank me, but I held up a hand. "Not for you, for me. I can't carry that anger anymore. It's too heavy, it doesn't change anything, and it won't help me rebuild." She blinked rapidly, a tear slipping down her cheek. There was no embrace, no rekindling, no rom-com ending with swelling music and second chances. Just a quiet moment between two people who had once built a life together. Acknowledging that it was over, we walked back in silence. She went left. I went right. 3 months. Later, the envelope came in the mail. No fancy seal, no fanfare. Just a folded stack of final documents, stamped and notarized, divorce finalized. I stood there with the envelope in my hands for a long time, expecting something: grief relief, maybe closure. What I felt instead was stillness. The storm had moved on. The wreckage cleaned up. I stood in a landscape that was forever changed, but somehow it was peaceful. Russell graduated that spring. I took photos, cheered from the crowd. He wore that lopsided grin of his under the cap, and when we hugged afterward, I could tell he was doing okay. Stronger than I'd realized, Charlotte came home from college for a few weeks that summer. Things between her and her mom were still fragile, but they'd started. Speaking again. Tentative, awkward, but speaking progress. Holiday plans were coordinated like business negotiations, but they worked. We kept things cordial. Christmas at Evelyn's one year, Thanksgiving with me. The next, separate birthday dinners, civil. Mutually respectful, the apartment had started to feel less like a crash pad and more like a home. I hung photos on the wall, cooked real meals, learned the names of the neighbors, and got used to the creaky pipes and footsteps above me. I even joined a hiking group. It felt weird at first, like a teenager fumbling through his first social life. But the trails cleared my head, and I like the quiet strength of the woods. The people were kind, not nosy, just open. I went on a few dates, coffee walks, and dinner once, nothing serious. I wasn't ready for more. I didn't even know what more meant anymore, but it was nice to be seen sometimes late at night. I think about the sidelines at Charlotte's soccer games, Evelyn and I sitting in folding chairs, cheering and sipping from thermoses. Those were the good years, or at least I thought they were. Turns out a different story had started. Back then, one I wasn't even aware was being written. I don't dwell on that much, now the sharp pain has dulled into something manageable, a twinge here, a pang there, but it doesn't paralyze me anymore. I've stopped trying to rewrite the past and started imagining a future. It looks nothing like what I planned, but it's mine, and it's open. 23 years was a long chapter, but it's not the whole book. I'm ready to turn the page. Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comment section below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.